lot of components to that to unpack. It's a really interesting question. And I think today, in the way that COVID has affected the world, we've seen the tyranny of distance and the tyranny of international borders. So one of the things that is becoming really important, we'd already seen a trend in America of almost a renaissance in manufacturing, and businesses, even if they weren't the cheapest supplier, if they were local, there was a preference to buy American, or in Australia, a preference to buy Australian. A little preference. You wouldn't pay a lot more, but a bit more. And now since COVID, we're starting to see it can be incredibly difficult to import something from China or from Europe, just because it's hard to get a ship, it's hard to get a container, and so on. And so what we're seeing is the businesses that are surviving and thriving in the pandemic world have not just chased cost. Firstly, they've had a number of suppliers so that they can mitigate risk. Secondly, they've created relationships. They haven't just screwed the suppliers down on price, but they've developed a relationship where they communicate with suppliers to kind of figure out, how can we work better? How can we, if we need a cheaper price from you, what can we do so that you can supply it cheaper? Not just expect you to not make profit, but can we forecast better? Can we give you longer lead times? Can we, reserve capacity from you and tell you exactly what we need at closer time? And so this is starting to become a really critical recipe, where the world, in globalization, everyone went out to get on the internet and buy the cheapest price. Now what we're seeing is the cost to serve is dramatically impacted. If your product doesn't turn up, you can't give it to your customer. If your raw materials don't show up on time or in the quantity or the quality that you expected, you can stop your factory and upset your customer, and then be working on weekends to make it up, an emergency freight, and so on. So the cost to serve has become far more important than the cost to purchase. And that's a transition where it's been really, globalization encouraged purchasing at the lowest price, and now we're starting to see, hang on, that's not really good for everyone. We must have alternative suppliers, and some of the suppliers you have to nurture. So we're starting to see more respect in the supply chain and an awareness of a fully qualified cost to serve rather than just the cost to buy.